And here we have him, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Eliot. How you doing,
Hey,
man?
thanks for having me.
So yeah, we're here to talk about some behind the scenes and fun facts about his terrible twin. And a big question that a lot of people has had is why did it go from his wicked twin to his terrible twin? Arguably worse title.
So much worse. Yeah, I never really ever warmed up to that new title. It's kind of
Yeah, it's,
annoying. I kind of see it in print anywhere. Well, I mean, it was his wicked twin, and we had a box cover shot. We had a magazine ads sent out. I think he even was going to do a website for like a year where they were going to have special behind the scenes shots and raw footage and all that.
yeah.
And it went into a magazine promo ad to advertise it. And there's a straight porn company called Wicked Pictures. And they saw it in the adult video news, the big, $10,000 ad.
Oh
And
yes.
and they got their lawyers and had the lawyers call Catalina. I guess they have copyright to the word wicked for all adult content. They, mostly do straight,
Yep.
but they didn't want it anywhere in the porn universe. So our GM pretty much, called me in and said, well, this is what's going on and we're changing the title. So he picked terrible. I said, no, I don't really like that. And he goes, no, we're going with that. I think he was really annoyed that
Yep.
he had so much money on the first one that nothing was open to discussion at that point. He was just pissed. And he said, no, it's terrible. And we're going with it. I'm like, okay.
Great. Totally it works with the ending line of the movie
This is for his wicked twin.
where it says the title.
And I just, because I watched the movie yesterday in anticipation of this, chat with you today. And I thought, oh my God, it's the last friggin' words in the movie are that original title. And I thought, well, good. At least it made it in there somewhere.
Yeah, thank God. It's
Yeah.
so much like terrible. It's terrible. Straight up.
I know. Even evil would have been better than terrible, but I didn't really want it to be evil. But, I was trying to get the thesaurus out to try and come up with different words, but he was like, no, this is what it is. And conversation
Great.
over. Okay, whatever.
Well, at least the movie is still good. It's got some interesting shots here and there with the camera movement. Just when the people are being killed, like why did you decide to use the camera as the murderer?
Well, I didn't intend to. How it worked out is it all came down to budget. So I only had the lead, Andy Hunter, for shooting in Los Angeles. So all of Andy's scenes in the movie were shot in LA, and the only other co-star that he ever shot with was Sharon Kane, and then those 5 guys in that group sex scene. He was never in the same room or on the same set with Ray Harley or Brad McGuire or Dr. Ledoux.
Darla-doo.
Darla-doo, that's what it was, Darla-doo.
Yeah.
He was never with them. So yet he had to have confrontations with them and, try to kill them. So I just went, first person camera is what he's seeing to try and give the effect that, he was there with them.
Yeah.
Everything that we shot conversation wise or action wise was in 2 completely different locations. So it was a real friggin' headache. I'll tell you that, because you got to remember, does he look to the left of the camera? Does he look to the right? I mean, on my master script, I kept writing down, which direction they're looking, because when you have them both look in the same direction, it looks like they're not even talking to each other.
Yeah, that does
I
not
had
look
that
good.
Hills Have Eyes. When I went to go load up the Hills Have Eyes recently, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they're not even looking the right direction. So on my version where I did some music videos for it, I friggin' flopped them all and put them back like they should be.
Hell
So
yes.
it was like really annoying seeing that. So I didn't want that to happen on Terrible Twin.
No, I honestly didn't notice at all. Like, I noticed for the graveyard scene, but the whole movie, the intro, when he's talking to Ray and Brad in the kitchen, like, I couldn't tell, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised too when I watched it yesterday. I thought, it really looks like they're there and they're interacting with each other. So it was kind of seamless, which was great. And then I really got to appreciate those shots, like where he throws the knife and then the knife is going towards the other one, or Dr. Ledoux, the gun is the bullet going towards them. And I kind of like that effect.
Yeah, me
So
too.
I
It's
it kind of worked, surprisingly.
The limitations sometimes make you work better, or so I've
Better
heard.
than the real. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought that really was an effective way. So that was, something good that came out of bad, not having him on the set with everyone else.
I mean, you got him on the set with himself when he plays against himself as Richard and Jacob with the split screen effect.
Yeah, I mean, we had very limited ability to do any kind of effects back then. Well, one way I did figure out how to do it is just keep the camera on a tripod, and then I would have like a wipe, but I would freeze the wipe because you could do it manually, a manual wipe or a mechanical wipe that would go from one shot to the other. So I had it as a manual wipe, and I just took the wipe across the screen here, so laid the shots on top of each other. So on the timeline, so you would see the top shot here of him talking on this side, and then the bottom shot of him here. As long as they didn't cross that little line in the middle where I had the wipe in the center of the shots, it worked beautifully. So I was really happy with how that turned out.
Yeah, like it's quite primitive, but it works.
Yeah, that's right. We're very primitive back then.
What editing software, or did you even use software? It wasn't by hand, right? Or
No,
was it?
it was one play deck to one record deck. Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking old school. So you would have your play here, and it would go through the little editing unit that could do like wipes and dissolves and titles, but it was like, it was like a $400 unit. I mean, it was like the work. And then it would go into the record deck, and that would go right onto the master.
Wow.
When we used to have 3/4 decks, and we would do rough edits of just the scenes, and then we would bring each of the scenes to a lab, and they would add the titles, and they would connect the scenes together, and they would put any effects in that we wanted to. But then, we would master onto 1 inch, which was a beautiful, pristine copy. But then as budget restraints over the years, it was like we're editing ourselves, which was great because I like to do my own editing. But it was really kind of chintzy equipment. There was no bells and whistles to it at all.
I mean, you did pretty good, all things considered.
Well, I had to use my imagination a lot, to try and, make things look decent.
Yeah, I always imagine like Windows 95 or 2000, like editing software, but I guess really old-fashioned.
Well, that would have been much more sophisticated than what we had to work with.
I mean, it works. Yeah. I mean, editing on computers back then was pretty shit from what I've seen, but I couldn't tell that this was analog, so.
Yeah, totally analog. Mm-hmm.
Like, is it like on a 1 inch negative, or how does it work, the 1 inch thingy?
1 inch is this huge, giant, like thick reel, almost like a movie reel. And then they would send those 1 inches, like for Europe, they would send a 1 inch over to Europe, and then Europe would do their own distribution there. They would buy it for a flat rate. 1 inch, we didn't have any equipment at Catalina to play any of the 1 inches. That was the format back then.
Yeah, that sounds insane. Well, like 35 millimeter gets like 4K resolution, so 1 inch, I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It's gorgeous. But then they went to a point where they weren't using the 1 inch masters to duplicate the VHS copies. So it was like, here they have this beautiful master, but then they're going to make a copy off the 1 inch master to maybe a 3/4 inch. And then they would use that and Catalina kind of had, they had their hands in a little bit more than just the production. They also had like a distribution house where they would make all the copies. So it wasn't like the most, high-end equipment they were using. What they could afford, and then they would have their 3/4 inch and making VHS copies, and they would pop all the machines and take the tapes out and put in new VHS tapes and duplicate. It was very mom and pop, surprisingly.
Yeah, that sounds really homey.
It was.
Cozy.
It was totally.
Wow. Somewhere out there is probably one of those 1 inch, it's like stored in some storage space. I want to find it so bad because this is probably not going to make for the video, but me and Kurt, we really like restoring these films so that they look and sound like they're supposed to.
And tell me that is so appreciated. I mean, the way you guys really can clean them up and make them look so good compared to the DVD versions I have of them, it's really amazing. And thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I really like restoring stuff. I've gotten into analog photography recently. Got some 35 millimeter film here. I haven't scanned it yet, but It's really fun. Kodak
Well,
Gold 200.
we stopped mastering on 1 inch. I want to say, God, long before 2000. It was just too expensive. And then they would start doing these stupid super VHS masters, which like drove me insane. We would have this beautiful, quality submaster, and then they would put it on a super VHS, and they were using that to make the copies. And it looked like mud. And we tried to tell them it looked like mud, and it was just falling on deaf ears. So until DV Cam came along, there was like this whole period where they just looked like crap.
Yeah. Wrong colors, low resolution, grain.
To have crappy image. It was annoying.
I mean, I guess as long as it makes money.
That's what they thought. That's how they looked at it.
God, I love it, businessman. All right, let's see. Just gonna find my notes here. Oh yes, there is some behind-the-scenes footage of the movie, and it's mentioned that the lead actor had to change. Why?
Well, okay, so I originally wrote his wicked, terrible twin for Blake Harper, who I worked for me on Score.
I should have left you on that street corner where you were standing. But you didn't.
And he was really reaching a nice pinnacle in his career at the time, and I was really impressed with him on Score. His acting was
Score
really
is amazing. Good. He's great in it.
He's great, right? And I specifically wrote this movie to be a star vehicle. So we call it a star vehicle. It's where you kind of write a script and design a character and give someone a role where you hope that they'll get nominated. So I kind of did that in a movie in the past called Single White Male for Rob Christen, and he ended up winning Best Actor for it. It's not necessarily the best sex scene, but it's the best acting. So I wanted to do a vehicle for Blake Harper, and I totally had him in mind for everything. So what I was looking at, I didn't really know what I was going to do for the vehicle. I knew I had to have like a strong personality, kind of like I did in Single White Male. So when I was back in my 20s, I used to watch this soap opera when I was working the swing shift. I would watch a soap opera called One Life to Live back in San Francisco. And there was a lead character in that and she played Vicky/Nikki. And she was a split personality. And she was really a great actress. And she would win the Emmy every year. So I thought, well, I want to kind of do something like that, where I can really give him something that's going to really fall into his acting chops. And so I was kind of playing around with the idea. And then it occurred to me, there was this movie that I saw when I was much younger. In fact, it came out in 1972. It was called The Other. And I remember I was 10 years old at the time, so I'll tell you how old I am now. Ancient.
No worries, I'm getting old too.
There was this movie ad for The Other, and on the ad it said something like, don't give away the secret of the other. And I remember seeing that in the newspaper in the movie section, and I remember thinking, oh, what is that secret? What is that secret? Well, it wasn't until years later that I finally saw that movie on TV, and they just had this brilliant concept of these two twins. And throughout the entire movie, you believe that these two twins are doing, one is good, one is evil. And that these two twins are performing all these terrible things. Well, then the big twist is that all of a sudden there's this one shot where the two twins are talking, and then it cuts to the one twin who's the nice twin, and the camera pans around, and where the other twin was sitting, there's no one there, and he's talking to the stage. And it gave me like, I was thought, wow, what a great concept, because everything that I was led to believe in this entire movie isn't true. And this, so we would see the two twins, but really only one of them was alive. The other one had died. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my little, homage ripoff to The Other.
That's okay.
And
I think even the line, everything you've led to believe is a lie. I think Ray says that in the movie, right? Like at the kitchen.
I think he does. That's right. And so that's how we did that final scene where the audience finds out that between the two twins, really there's just one twin with a split personality. And really the only time you ever really see the two twins together, like that split screen, is when the one twin is telling Sharon Kane about this situation that happened between him and his brother. and then it
Yeah.
kind of shows like the story that he's telling, because we never could really show the two twins together at the same time without, because it wasn't real. So it's through a story he's telling that you see the two twins interacting together.
Yes.
So that was kind of giving me little, headaches how to do this and how to play it off. But I think it worked out really well in that one shot where Sharon Kane is there and the one twin, the evil one, is like talking to the other twin. He's standing behind Sharon Kane, but she doesn't hear him because he's not really there. It's just what the other twin is seeing. And then you realize, oh my God, this is the point where there is no other twin. It's just him.
Yeah, he's just crazy.
Yeah, it's just nuts. But Blake Harper, I think, would have slayed that role in that movie. But unfortunately, he had to pull out. He wasn't available for it because I was crushed. But Andy Hunter, who I had worked with on something else, which I can't really remember, I remember him having this sort of edge to him. And I thought, you know what, he would probably be really good in this role. And I thought he brought a lot of really good qualities to the role. But it wasn't the same feeling for me once Blake dropped out. I really had all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I understand that feeling, man. But Andy did a good job, especially as Richard. Jacob is a bit too kind, but I guess that works in his favor. And Richard is just so mean.
Oh, yeah. He's a little twat.
But
who was great in that, which I could almost have seen in the lead, who really surprised me how great he was, because I didn't remember that so much from Boy Band, was Brad McGuire, the hillbilly from Boy Band.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's a really good actor. He really, he made Ray Harley give probably one of the better performances he's ever given by them working off each other.
Dude, they're really good in this movie.
They really are. I was pretty impressed when I watched it again.
I love their little relationship, and it's sad end.
Yeah, but it's so there's so many out there like that. So
yeah. Oh, you gotta show up your mug to the camera.
Yeah.
Look at this.
This little mug here went out with, I think, like the first 1,000 orders. And then, of course, the slogan that I love the slogan, sometimes being bad feels so damn good, because he's bad, but yet the sex makes him feel good, so double Andre there. So, yeah, I think the first 1,000 orders got that mug, and mine has some cracks in it. I don't know how long it's going to last, but at least I still have one.
It's beautiful.
It makes everything taste better.
So damn good. Let me just see. I have more notes somewhere because I had one more question at least. Yeah, go on.
No. Well, I just thought of something while you were looking at your notes. Is that Rambo is in that finale, that big scene at the end, and I was thinking yesterday, what the hell? Why is Rambo there, but yet he doesn't have any role in this movie? And that scene is just like, whatever, where did that scene come from? And then I remembered what happened on that.
Yeah.
So, and it's this big six-way, and in the story, it's where he's, Richard is telling, Jacob or Richard, whatever one, was telling the story about how he ended up killing his brother.
Yes.
And he witnessed this thing going on and it turned him on or something. And then I'm thinking, oh, that's right. I remember now. So I had no script. I had zero in my mind about what I was going to be doing for this mega budget movie that had like 17 people in it, 17 models, which costs a lot of money. And I had no freaking fucking idea what I was going to do for that movie. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, they're all here. You got to shoot them, because they were coming in for different other movies. Brad Austin was doing a movie. Maybe Peter O'Meara was shooting with some of them. And then I had them for this group scene for my movie, and I had no script. I don't think that's ever happened to me in my life. Gone into not a big budget movie anyway. I'm sure some movies I just winged it. But this never happened where I had like a big budget movie and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what the fuck I'm even saying with this scene. So I didn't shoot any opening dialogue. I didn't shoot any closing dialogue. It says, there they are up on these girders. And then after money shots, poof, they're gone. So
it just starts out, just see it through a hole and then there they are.
But you can only imagine like the stress going through thinking, oh my God, what,
Oh, yeah.
what if I fall out on this? They're going to be so pissed, like, but it was what it was. But that was something I remember from seeing that yesterday too. Not, so it kind of really is like almost like a tack on scene that has like, makes no sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it works plot-wise, but it doesn't work plot-wise. The plot point works, but
It fills up some screen time. 7 more, penises in there.
oh,
But
yeah.
it made no sense to the movie at all.
I don't know what they call them. It's just a bunch of workers partying. But
Yeah,
there were no girls.
all placed perfectly with the perfect angle so we could see everything.
Like the whole joke I'm gonna do in the video there is, and Steve Rambo was there, so it turns him gay. That's like something like that.
Could have at least done something like that, right? I could at least, giving Steve a little call out. It was like he was just like background scenery. I feel terrible about it now. It's like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Yeah, because I like shocked, like, oh, Steve Rambo's in this? Oh, there he is.
That was my reaction when I saw it yesterday. Like, oh my God, Rambo's in that scene? I'm like, what the hell?
Oh well, he's in a lot of other good stuff, so he can't win them all.
No, he can't. He made, nice little special guest star.
Brings it up a notch.
That's right.
Let's see. I had one here. This is a question from one of my Discord and Patreon supporters. I'm gonna butcher his name. Smugista. He wonders, was there any drama on set?
Oh God.
Oh,
yes.
No.
Yes, Smugista. There was tons of drama. I mean, it wasn't all the time, but I mean, on that particular set, I don't know that there was. Well, not in that particular movie, let's say. Maybe, one particular lead may have been a little, of the Jacob more than Richard once in a while, maybe that. But overall in our movies, you work with a lot of different personalities, you're always switching up things here and there, like you count on one thing and then it's another. We always treat everyone with respect on the sets for Catalina. I always looked at us as like the Disney of porn. We were the good guys. And I'm telling you, the models really liked working with us because we do respect them and we do treat them well. And and it's a very family-oriented crew that we had. So when someone comes in and like mixes that up, it was just like.
And he also had a part 2, which I guess this also relates a little bit to Brad Austin. It asks, do you keep in touch with the actors or crew still to this day?
Yeah, well, not the actors so much, but Brad Austin, I live in Palm Desert. Brad Austin lives in Palm Springs. He works at one of the local gay bars as a bartender, also still doing camera work. And we were just texting the other day, actually. And so we do keep in touch. With COVID, I haven't really seen him probably more than a year. But no, he's doing well. And, he was really my right-hand man through all of this from way back. I had a lot of anxiety. There's always a lot of pressure. Like the night before a shoot, I would get a lousy night's sleep, and you get these phone calls sometimes at 11 o'clock at night. Oh, the model didn't get on the plane.
Oh.
And they'd be up until 2 a.m. trying to get it recast and figured out. And it was always made me very nervous. So I always had a lot of anxiety through the years where I was always, kind of on edge a little bit. And Brad, knowing that he was there, was always like, it was like the blanket, like the security blanket. Because he was really, he was really my right arm. He really was. So I appreciate everything he's ever done.
You guys, you make the best movies, you and Brad. Like, I love them.
Brad directed Cockpit.
Oh,
Cockpit,
yes.
one of Brad's movies. And we shot that mostly like in Yosemite for the part 2.
Yeah.
And I always wanted Brad to succeed. He also did a really great movie. The part 2 is not that great. Return to Sunset Boulevard. That one's not that great. But Sunset Boulevard, I thought was really, really great. We got nominated for that movie. And I want to say that was probably one of his stronger movies. He did an excellent job in that. And I always wanted to be there for him to, to help him, succeed, or just to be there to hold the fill light, so his shots look good. I mean, he really has a nice library of films all on his own as well.
Yeah, he makes some good stuff. Comedy's good. He does the camera work too, right? You told that earlier?
He did the camera work on almost every single movie. And then when he directed, he would even do camera work on the movies he was directing. I mean, I used to do that back in the day. But then Brad was always so great at camera work that there was a point where I could actually be behind the monitors, and getting a better, shot of angle of what I'm really recording from the two cameras. But back in the day, I did all my own camera work. But when Brad came along, and then he really fell into his own, his quality was so amazing that I felt I could step back and let him take that over, which he did an excellent job on.
Yeah, there is some great cinematography in these movies. Surprisingly, like you expect porn, still camera, they fuck, close up, they fuck. But nah, you get weird angles, you get zoom ins, you get everything.
Well, a lot of that came from John Travis. He was the one, John Travis and Scott Masters are the ones that hired me back in San Francisco. Yeah. And John Travis directed Power Tool, the Jeff Stryker movie, like the most popular gay movie of all time at that point, during that era. And so he had such an amazing technique as far as his framing. He was so specific on his framings, zoom in a cunt here, or, pull back, whatever. But he always had these great little, terms that he would say, like the cunt here and all that. But he was so specific on his framing. And then that's when I started with him. I was second camera. But I learned so much from the way he would shoot his movies that I absorbed as much as I could. I was 25 when I got hired with them, and I just soaked it in like a sponge. And I emulated his look on his movies more so than anyone else I can think of. I mean, he's at the top of his game back then.
Yeah, you learned a lot of good stuff because
I was lucky.
Movies with worse cinematography, like cinema movies.
Yeah, I know. I have too. I hate the ones where the camera's like shaking all over the place. I have to like turn them off. I can't sit through that.
Yep. I gotta watch more of his movies, but they aren't too plot heavy. That was Power Tool. I've seen it, I think, on YouTube.
Yeah, Power Tool, and then he did one called Undercover, which was like based on the Hitchcock Rear Window.
I don't think I've seen that one actually.
Oh yeah, that was one of the maybe first or second ones we did, because I used to build his sets before I was doing camera work. I was a set builder, so I built his sets for that. We had a studio in San Francisco back then, and they would fly up from LA with the models, but they would just phone in their orders. Okay, I need this. I need to look like like an alleyway with a chain link fence for them to jump over, and and it was like a balcony. So we'd have to build all their sets, and we shot everything on these sound stages back then when I first started. And then it wasn't until LA that we started, when we moved to LA about a year and a half later, when they brought me down there, that was when we started shooting on locations and didn't really have a studio any longer.
Made some good sets at least. Is Power Tool the one in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was curious, like, how do you get into a prison? So it's all homemade, roughly?
Oh, yeah, it's all sets. Yeah,
really?
Wooden dowels, for the bar.
I mean, the audience likes wood, so might as well give it to them.
A good one, yeah.
I come up with so many stupid puns. Like, I'm gonna spoil a joke from the video to you. When the security guard finds Jacob a Richard, and they decide to have sex for some reason.
Oh, in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just say, and the security guard gets security hard. It's such a stupid joke, but it's funny.
Yeah, it is. It's cute. It plays well.
How many of the locations used in His Terrible Twin were also used in other Catalina movies?
Okay, so the scene like with Brad and Ray Harley, like where they're in that house and with the washing machine behind them, and then the point of view comes down the stairs while they get their information before going to the graveyard. Well, that was actually this house that we rented in Provincetown, and we were able to rent the whole house. 5-bedroom house, and then it also had a guest house in the back. So we rented that for like a week, and that was in. We shot that location in that movie. We shot it in Party in Provincetown. We shot that location in Vermont Reunion, because we were like doing a whole East Coast kind of tour. We were doing Vermont. We were doing Provincetown. Maybe that was it, just those two places. Rhode Island, too. I think we did some stuff from Rhode Island. So I know that when we arrived in Rhode Island, the whole crew stayed at my mom and dad's house for the first night.
How
and then,
cozy.
My mom and dad are really cool. And then we rented vehicles and took off from there and just kind of did New England, which was great. Loved it.
I mean, I really want to explore the U.S. myself, but the world kind of sucks at the moment, so we'll see.
Yeah, maybe in a year or so, right?
Fingers crossed, man.
And then we also did we did Palm Springs in that movie, and then the part where he's like talking to himself, the split screen.
Yeah.
That was in my condo in West Hollywood, and where Sharon Kane has the conversation with him. That was in my condo. Some bar somewhere, I think it was in LA, where they did that song that you tormented your friend with in part 1 of the review.
Oh, yes.
Having to sit through that. That was in some, I think it was like the Queen Mary or something, where I shot that scene with Celie Fontana in Valley of the Bidolls, that opening scene. One of your favorites, I'm sure.
No, actually, I've changed my opinions. You know, I saw Night of the Living Bidolls first, and that was after Boy Band, so my whole opinion of Sharon Kane was based on Nancy.
Oh, yeah.
But now in retrospect, she's just great.
Completely different experience. And yeah, if you didn't see part 1 and part 2 to kind of know the origins of part 3, you'd be like, what is this? Yep. But yeah, what I loved about part 3 is that Sharon Kane played 3 roles in the part 3. That was, you know, for me, that just gave me like my jollies, you know what I mean? Just
it's kind of funny.
Part 3, she's going to play 3 personalities. This is going to be amazing. You know, sometimes you think, oh, this is going to be so great, and it comes off whatever. But I think she really played 3 completely different personalities there. And I thought she wasn't over the top with any of them, except maybe the 50s chick. You know,
I was going to say maybe she's a bit over the top, but it works. I kind of want to make another video on that movie and say I've changed my opinion, and it's actually very good because my video is too negative, I feel. But, you know, opinions change.
Yeah, that's right. They do. They do.
Video Homo System asks, how do you get the ideas for the great plots to these adult movies?
Well, I mean, you know about this one. It was from that movie, The Other, that kind of stuck with me from 10 years old to like 40, you know, when I made it, or 30-something when I made it. I like to, okay, so Valley of the Bidolls, of course, is Valley of the Dolls ripoff, you know, so, I mean, it totally, you know, there was Neely O'Hara, well, I have Celie Fontana, you know, and then it was Lana Dawson was, I forget from the original what her name was, but it was something sound like that. And I kind of like love Valley of the Dolls because I think, you know, I don't know if you know, but like a lot of gay people just like love Valley of the Dolls. The original
I was not aware of that, actually.
My God, it's like our Bible. It's like our Bible.
Really?
Yes, it really is.
I've never seen the original, by the way, so maybe I should just check it out.
You have to see it. You just have to. You know,
I'll check if it's on streaming.
So, you know, that I got the idea from there, and then it won Best Picture. So we're like, making the Revenge of the Bidolls, and the Revenge of the Bidolls. I took those characters, but it was completely original from start to finish. I didn't plagiarize any scene, like the wig being pulled off, and you know the scenes that I kind of plagiarized from the first one. It was completely original. So I was happy with myself on that one. And then that won Best Picture, and it was like, my boss goes, "Well, you're making part 3 now," and I'm like, "Well, I can't. I killed them all. It's done. It's only supposed to be a 2-part." He's like, "No, you're making part 3. It won Best Picture." I'm like, "All right." So, you know, I'm a stupid horror movie fan from way back. So I thought, all right, they're dead. Fuck it. They're coming back as zombies, you know, and then that's how that came about. It was just kind of one of those rebellious things. Okay, I'll make part 3. You know, you can watch it when it's out. Because he really didn't, you know, hand on anything. You know, he would always kind of let me do what I wanted to do, which was always nice. But sometimes you'd be a little bit, really? Is that the way you're going with this movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like a zombie movie, okay, and it works. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice
And it
little
kind of
environmental message there too.
in the context of, being the third part and them all being killed in part two. It was a natural segue to zombie.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a prequel, but nobody likes those anyway. So I like the zombie idea. Well, I gotta ask, what was the idea behind Boy Band? That's the most famous movie behind Catalina, perhaps.
Yeah, boy band. Well, it was probably around the time when like boy bands were really popular, on MTV or whatever. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good concept. And I know that Catalina was saying, we want to kind of go for the, sort of the younger feel. I think I was doing just before boy band or right after boy band. No, before boy band, I had to do this whole Rascal series. It was basically going back to like more youthful kind of frolics. So it was about, kids in school or whatever, even though they were, adults. But I did like this 3 Rascal movies in 2001. And that was all about, young boys and youth. And Tony played Coach Collins and all of them, where he was like that, the weird coach that was, and they would, put like, itching powder, whatever, in their jock straps and, whatever. Kind of like a frolic. But I think I had that whole youth thing in my head from 2001, because instead of doing like a big budget movie, I did like a trio of those movies. So I thought, well, I'd really like to do something, like boy band, and have Sharon Kane and someone that she collaborates with come up with some music for it. And they came up with a great song. So that's
so catchy.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy, and so that's how that kind of came about. And then of course, I had to have Sharon Kane. I know people get on my shit about throwing Sharon Kane and everything, but it's like, I made a lot of other movies that don't have Sharon Kane. We were doing like 2 movies a month, right, for years. So there's a lot of other movies that we're making in 2001 and 2002 that weren't Sharon Kane. But like when I could have Sharon Kane, I wanted Sharon Kane. And I thought she was a perfect glue to tie it all together because, really it's a lot of almost disjointed stories where they just have a very thin, paper-thin connection to the fact, that all kind of is connected to the 2 agencies fighting to get them. The 2 agencies that are battling each other.
Very Tarantino-like.
Yes, right. So, that's kind of how that came about. I was in that mentality of like, going more to like the youthful type of stories. And then from there, I think it segued to like Junior meets the Bear Patrol. It was, okay, let's bring the older man in with the younger kid. And then that was popular all of a sudden. So we're doing all those kind of things. Junior's new cleaning service. So it'd always be like a younger Junior type kid doing the cleaning and like the older man. And then that it goes through waves of what seems to be popular, in that time period.
Thankfully, you quit before incest became the most popular one.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah. Because from what I've heard, I don't really watch that myself, but it's among the most searched genres at the moment. And
oh, really? Is incest?
Yeah, with lockdown and everything going on, that's not a good sign.
No, that's not I don't like that theme.
No, it's gross. Play-Doh Cooch asks, what was a great movie idea that you for some reason couldn't do?
That I couldn't do, that they wouldn't let me do?
Yeah.
I don't know that there was a movie that they wouldn't let me do, actually. I know there was like movies where, like Cute Enough to Eat, it had like a completely different title because it was more about like, I want to say like a sex post-nuclear, but I don't even think that was related to that movie. But it had like a completely different tone and feel to it. And then like halfway through the movie, the GM was just like, got a hard on for the lead or something. It's like, no, he's going to be on the cover. It was someone else completely on the cover. I can't think of who it was. But he bumped him because this one guy that I had in the movie who ended up on the cover and switched it to Cute Enough to Eat, which had like nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
So they would pull that on me a few times, changing the title back in the old days. Like I had this movie called Brothers of the Flesh, and it turned into Brother Trouble. And Brother Trouble Part 2, which was like Are you kidding me? They gave me the budget for one movie, and then they said it's going to be two movies. I think I mentioned that in another interview. And they made it into two movies. So it came out as part one and part two. And maybe together they would have been better. They wouldn't have been so stretched out in editing and dragged out. But they suck because they're split into two movies. And that title sucks, Brother Trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Hated it.
I'll see if I can get Kurt to make a fan edit Time Together again.
No, please do me the favor. Don't let
burn
those
the
things
copies.
let them rest in peace.
All
Those
right.
two.
I don't think I have too much more else to ask here. No. No, I think we're pretty much done with the questions here. So.
Well, good. So I'm excited to see part two of the Terrible Twin.
I'm gonna try to get it out by Friday, but I work late tomorrow, so we'll see.
Oh, we'll be eagerly awaiting, I'm sure.
Oh yes, I'm glad that you guys are fans. It's really exciting.
Well, it is. I mean, I can't tell you how many laughs we get. We watch them together on the couch, and it's like, oh my god, this is hysterical. We watched the other one of Tony's the other day, and like, oh my god, these movies. But the way you put the spin on it, and the way you kind of don't make it as a standard review, it's really intelligent and it's really funny. So I really get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Well, that's good because I don't know why I started, because I was making like gaming videos and like, this isn't getting any views. Oh, Boy Band, that's an interesting movie. Let's do that.
Oh, so that's how it all began with Boy Band?
Yeah, me and a friend was just watching shit on YouTube, and we found this clip, bad gay acting or something, and it's the "Oh shit, I'm sorry" clip, and it's amazing. And then I found whole movie. Wait, there's a whole movie of this, and it's all plot. Oh my god! Like nobody on the internet talks about it except for the memes. So I figured, okay, I'll see how it goes, and I seem to have grown a little fan base for myself.
Yeah, you absolutely have. I mean, I see how many hits you get like right after you post something. Well, because you do them really well, and it's nice because if they've seen the movie on Catalina Collection, then to have your whole perspective on it gives it a whole new dimension. No, I love watching reviews.
The one I did for Christmas, Super Whole Sunday, it was super rushed because I didn't have time, and I was like, okay, it's Christmas. I'm just reading the lines, throwing it together, and hitting it on YouTube, and it worked out okay.
It worked out. There was some funny parts in there where we were laughing. Didn't you have subtitles for one part or something where one guy was talking?
Yeah.
How do we even say cut? Okay, that's a good take. Let's move on to the next line. How did that even happen? Because you couldn't even understand what they were saying.
Like I was managed to interpret it afterwards, but I just left the subtitles because it was funny. It is something about throwing the pigskin or something. It's on football.
Oh yeah, it's like the last line of the movie or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't know how that script made it past the approval stage.
Good title. That's about it.
It was a great title, yeah.
Like it took me ages. Oh, it's a pun on Super Bowl. Oh, I didn't get it until like way too late because
I think the only thing related was like one costume for the box cover, and that was it. One football outfit.
Who was the team manager, the older guy? Who was that?
He was my neighbor who lives 3 houses down, and yeah, his name is Don. They've since moved to Maine, and his wife, Roxanne, she was the lady cop at the beginning of Hot Buttered Cop Quan, which was the final movie I ever made. And she's the lady cop in that, but she's also in some other movie where she does a cameo. So, they're just friends that we had and, neighbors. And, they knew what we did. It was like, oh, will you come up and do some lines? And they're like, yeah, sure. Oh, they're very open.
Great. He had some real gravitas in that scene.
He did. He did.
Now this was amazing, man. Only thing I gotta fix, I look so fucking blue in this light. Ugh.
You gotta add some nice orange in there and get a little bit of, you're looking very Night of the Living By dolls there.
Yeah, like pink and blue. It's not a good look. Just black and white. It's fine.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for involving me in this. I look forward to seeing it and a lot of your future stuff too.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, it's when you have the director like on call, and you gotta take advantage of it, and you're super fun to talk to as well.
Happy to.
Never imagined that starting out with making weird YouTube videos would end up like this, but I love it.
Well, you're doing great. So keep it
Thanks,
up.
man.